y'all, it's your Master Lee.
And Lulu.
Coming to you from the entertainment capital of the world.
Of Las Vegas.
Now, Vegas has changed so much since the pandemic. Some of it, I feel like it's a nationwide change. In other words, it's not just happening here in Vegas, but there are things about Vegas that I really now miss. Because what was happening before, when we came here before the pandemic, like that was what I loved about Vegas.
That's right.
Now some of it's gone. Some of it's for the better, but some of it's definitely, I would just say, I feel like a bygone era.
What's that mean?
That means goodbye, so long. A feeder say hoo hoo ha. It's no longer here. So the first one,
All right.
unfortunately, is my number one peeve right now. Because when we first moved to Vegas, I love the fact that we can go to a buffet every day. And a lot of these buffets, so affordable.
Yes. So cheap, if you say.
Yeah, it was better deal to go eat at a buffet than
You cook at home.
to cook at home or to go to McDonald's even.
Right.
Oh man, what I miss, Tuesdays at Arizona Charlie's, $5 buffet.
Baby.
Now, this is not what I call quality food. It's borderline hospital cafeteria quality, but it's all you can eat. Borderline hospital quality. There were about 70 buffets in Las Vegas before the pandemic. Today, there's about 10 left.
10?
Yeah, it got cut way down, and it's unlikely they will
Reopen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the shift has happened. I thought maybe they're going to wait till the pandemic because people were afraid. The problem is that the buffet experience is just not a Vegas experience anymore. A lot of that has just been replaced with celebrity restaurants and other eateries. And, maybe I'll make another video about that, but it's just not the same. So forever now in the history books, but Vegas buffets, such a small piece of what's going on now.
I miss it.
Now, the other thing that I noticed is a pretty big change. And I actually like this because from the video game industry, I love digital entertainment. But I noticed that when we do our walk-in videos, we're going from casino to casino, that there are a lot fewer table games. There's more and more of these table games that are being converted into some sort of digital game. And I'm not just talking about slot machines. I'm talking about games that traditionally have been table games like roulette or craps. And they would sometimes have these huge monitors and a bunch of different stations, and people would interact with that one screen. So it almost like you're kind of like still like you're playing together, but people
Still
are
socializing,
separated
right?
enough. Yeah, it's like close enough to enjoy something with someone, but not like, what they would do with a craps table where people crowd around and it'll be hooping and hollering. Not to say table games are gone, but you see these huge monolithic machines now all over the place, and very fascinating change. Some people argue that's because they don't have to hire as much staff, to manage the table games.
All right.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big change from before. The other thing you'll notice as you walk up and down the strip,
Right.
and I would say you will even notice this all around Vegas, is the amount of new construction that is going on here.
It's insane.
Whoa. It's a revolution and a half that's been going on, which is still kind of hard to believe. At this point, I get it, right? But I was also in Vegas quite a bit between 2008 and up to this point. And that recession that last hit Vegas was devastating. I mean, it just wiped everything out. All the construction projects were put on hold. Many people lost their jobs.
Housing
Prices
just
plummeted to, like, you could buy a house for $80,000. So I was just convinced
Right.
this is not going to rebound anytime soon. Especially after a pandemic, because I was convinced it's going to collapse like it did last time. I mean, you even have video footage of walking up and down the strip and ghost town.
Exactly.
Never seen anything like that.
That was creepy and sad to experience,
I thought that we would still be in it by now. That was my prediction. Like, there's no way this town could bounce back like this. But
yeah, well, people like to go party, babe.
bounce back Vegas has. And the amount of construction is an amazing sign. I mean, the fact that the Fontainebleau has picked back up and they're building it out, they're finishing it to its full grand scheme. I'm not talking about just a hotel, but there's a massive convention center, a shopping complex. That thing is a towering sight to behold. I was going to say monstrosity, but that sounds pretty negative. It's beautiful. And if you were here in the last couple of years, you could just start to see that decay slowly, right? It's almost like the beginning of The Last of Us, where you're walking around a city where the jungle has started to creep in and nature's taking over the building.
Right.
That building had had those
that
signs.
feels.
Yeah. It was just falling apart. Windows were falling out, and you can sneak in, and it's just a hollowed mess. And yeah, they're pretty close to being done now.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy, especially even the development. It's off the strip. Like, we live in a neighborhood here that even just a year ago was nothing but just desert out
Dust.
here. Dust.
But now it's like all housing.
All houses, strip houses. Now, the other thing I noticed is a very interesting change in the way people gamble. And it's not saying that it's replacing what people have done, but sports betting has really taken off here. And having worked at a casino and seen how much money every casino and every player in that space was spending to acquire new users,
You want to make every game interesting? Step one, open the BetMGM Sportsbook.
it was probably one of the highest CPMs that you can have to pay for advertising. It was hundreds of dollars. It was insane. And like, this is compared to or $10, $20 that you run on for just Vegas in general, or maybe $5 in general for any other thing else like food, hot dogs, toilet paper, whatnot. Couple hundred to acquire a user, couple thousand, I think, even at its peak. So yeah, they were spending heavily for it. And if you go to most casinos now, that whole area where they have the sports book, it's oftentimes one of the nicest areas. You could just sit there in a nice lounge,
Right.
huge monitors everywhere.
Yeah, it's
So nice.
so chill. You can order whatever you want.
It's probably one of the best parts of these casinos. You also notice like a lot of these casinos now have what I thought initially was like they were going to just do podcasts, like social media. That's not what they're used for. But they would have broadcast booths. Notice that at the Wynn. We were just going through South Point. They had one there too. Circa Downtown has one as well. They're broadcast booths to talk about sports, to feed these sports bookies and all these people who are hooked on sports betting information like, hey, what's going on? So it's almost like a sports show. Everyone thought that they had to have a broadcast studio built into the casino for that. And it's cool because you can see,
You can see
it.
them.
It's
Yeah.
glass windows, so you can see them in there. But honestly, most of the time I just see they're empty. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone film. So
Live. Maybe like the schedule, you just like can't catch them.
you know what? If you build it, I figure it with Vegas, if it's 24 hours, have something running all the time. Why not? If you're not using it for that, then use it for podcasting. Like, hire some people on social media to come in and talk about, right, how to gamble, hire some professional poker
For
players. Yeah, to
sports
share
and
some
other
tips. So I did ask a bunch of people on Reddit what they thought some of these changes. Now, I'll share them with you, but I do think a lot of this actually does reflect what I call general changes across America. My number one trend, if you will, is that Vegas has gotten super expensive. Like, the hotel rates at a crazy high. People are saying that they're now starting to see $25 drinks as a more common thing. Like, I thought $20 drinks was already the limit of what people were willing to put up with. $25 is what it's going up to.
God.
Even table minimums. It's so hard right now to find a $5 minimum table for blackjack anymore. Like, at the Wynn, I cannot find $5 minimum blackjack tables. But it's the Wynn. I get it.
You're looking at the wrong casino.
Okay. It's still hard to find. You used to be able to go to downtown because those used to be more parlor, saloon style kind of casinos that you can find. $5 minimums were all over the place. The other thing that someone mentioned is that a lot of places aren't open 24 hours anymore. And I think this is actually a nationwide thing.
So true.
But in Vegas, you really feel it. So I do think this is a very valid point. And the more I thought about it, the more I go, man, I freaking hate it.
Yeah, we used to go out eat, and now they're like close hella early. Yeah.
I mean, we would have the worst sleep schedule. So it was not unheard of to have a midnight run of the Munchies. And we can go anywhere and something will be open. You know, I think part of it is that
There's no staff.
it's no staff. Yeah, that's a big problem. And because of inflation, the cost is a lot higher. So, just keeping something open with few people coming in may not be great. But this is Vegas we're talking about. People expect that things should be open 24 hours. And what gets me is that a lot of casinos actually have shops now, restaurants that are open 24 hours. I was someone gambling in the middle of the night. That's a big deal, actually. I do feel like this is something that I don't want it to stick around. Like, Vegas needs to be a 24-hour city. All right, you need to support people like us who are nocturnal, who want to eat, drink, and have fun any time of the day. So I'll end on this note, which is kind of sad. And it's sad because I don't think it's just Vegas. But people are noticing that everyone's just getting a lot more mean and more impatient. And that Vegas is just not a happy place anymore. And I can see that.
No. Well, that should change, right? Because it's an entertainment city, and that needs to be changed.
As a touristy place, you would think that that's something that the staff should embrace more. But I think it's twofold. One is I think it's partly staff, and the other half it's also just people too.
Yeah.
Right. When you work in a place, and this is because I have insight from working in a casino, they're way understaffed, and so many people are coming in right now to the point where it's a record-breaking month every single month for like the last year. So these people were pushed to the limit, and they're tired, and so they get ornery. When you get tired,
what do you,
Lulu?
Yeah,
you get ornery.
You get
pissy, you get bitchy, you get mean. Everything comes out.
That is so true.
And you snap back at people. It'd be different if everyone was nice and you could just blame the staff. But the reality is, man, people are just bitchy in general, and they're just pushing everyone's buttons. We just live in a nation now where people are just turning on each other. You know what I'm saying? For the last couple of years, it just became so normalized to attack people. And this isn't just politics. I just feel like, in general, and the pandemic definitely didn't make it better, right? The number of Karens that have come out of the woodwork, which is a term I've never even heard of before the pandemic. It's like, why are people that you would think should be so nice are like the meanest mofos around? The entitlement, the need to say what you think. People bring out the Vegas, unfortunately. So I think it is amplified here.
Wow.
But it's definitely a nationwide trend.
Yeah. Well, that needs to change because, hospitality is what is popular here, right?
So let me know what you all think. Are there other things that you notice that have been happening since the pandemic that has changed Vegas? But I'm just glad that Vegas has bounced back and people coming out in droves, and it's fun again. And for the most part, it is generally super positive, like with, I think, what's been going on with Vegas.
That's right. It's still beautiful. Sparkles and lights everywhere.